Alright, sit down everyone. Sit down parents and teachers. And a warm welcome to each and every one of you, and to those of you who view us on TV Jagriti, listen to us on Radio Jagriti 102.7. We want to take the opportunity to welcome you. And the Secretary General announced all who is seated at the head table, so we want to welcome His Holiness the Dharmacharya of Trinidad and Tobago, Pandit Uttam Maharajji. Babaji, thank you so much, and of course a warm welcome. Kids, sit around. Sit around. Alright, so we all set. Who won the toss? Palmyra? Spring Village won the toss. Palmyra is going first. Okay, so before you do, as we do every quiz, round 2 and round 3, you all are accustomed. So you have to introduce yourself. When you introduce yourselves, it allows us to hear you on the microphone, and also helps us to make sure that you're understanding us. So you're going to start off with you, my dear.
Sitaram, मेरा नाम जनिका सिराव सिंह है.
Alright, Sitaram Denika.
Sitaram, मेरा नाम संजय देवनंदन है.
Sitaram Sanjana.
Sitaram, मेरा नाम अमृत लर्चन है.
Alright, Sitaram Amrit.
Sitaram, मेरा नाम रुशाद रामबरोज है.
Alright, Sitaram Risha. And you, my dear?
Sitaram, my name is Jessica Baal.
Sitaram Jessica.
Sitaram, my name is Priya Park.
Sitaram Priyal.
Sitaram, my name is Vikas.
Sitaram Jai Vikash.
Sitaram, my name is Daryan Yuanchan.
Sitaram Daryan. Alright, I think you all can hear us perfectly. You all are hearing us? You all are hearing me? Yes, and I'm hearing you. So, Spring Village won the toss, and Palmyra is going to go first. Alright, so your first question. Dinika, first round of competition. Remember, my dear, those of you who are listening, please do not prompt even if you know the answer. It can result in the school being penalized. So it's important that you don't prompt. I know the enthusiasm sometimes gets the better of us. Sometimes we shout out the answer without knowing. But if you do, it can result in the schools being penalized. So we are going to start off individual round of questioning. And Dinika, your question for 10 points. How did Ram and Sugriv swear their mutual friendship?
Ram and Sugriv swear their mutual friendship by circumambulating the fire.
Correct for 10 points. Jessica, your question for 10 points. What form did Sugriv assume to have a long heart-to-heart talk with Ram and Lakshman on their first meeting?
A handsome man.
Correct for 10 points. Sanjana, your question for 10 points. Name the sannyasini who Ram and Lakshman met in Pampa.
The sannyasi's name was Shabri.
Correct for 10 points. Priyal, your question for 10 points. To whom was the bow of Vishnu entrusted?
King Janak. King Janak.
Sorry, that's not the question. That's not the answer that we have on card. I have to pass over to Sanjana for 5 points.
Sri Ram.
Neither. So both will be, of course, the incorrect answer. Sage Jamadagni. Sage Jamadagni will be the correct question. Amrit, your question for 10 points. Why did Parashuram take a vow to destroy the Kshatriya race?
Parshuram took a vow to destroy the Kshatriya race because his father was killed by a Kshatriya.
Correct for 10 points. Vikas, your question for 10 points. After leaving Kekaya, through which entrance did Bharat arrive in Ayodhya?
The victory gate.
Correct for 10 points. Rishabh, your question for 10 points. Which sage approached the sacrificial fire uttering mantras called on the celestials and ordered a great feast to be produced for Bharat and his followers?
Sage Bharatwaj.
Correct for 10 points. Daria, your question for 10 points. Which son of the king of Kekaya received the invoice of Ayodhya with due courtesy?
Yudhajit.
Correct for 10 points. And now Palmyra Hindu, your team question. Remember, you can consult one person must give the answer. And listen very carefully. Question would only be read once. Likewise, students of the Spring Village Hindu, you can also get a chance to answer for 5 points if Palmyra doesn't answer. And listen very carefully. As Sita was being carried away by the Rakshas Ravan, and untimely darkness descended on the earth, what did all beings lament?
Dharma is destroyed, righteousness is in darkness.
We'll give correct for 10 points. And Spring Village, your answer for 10 points, and the students of the Palmyra Hindu, you are to listen as well. On their way to Chitrakoot Hill, in what order did the princes and Sita walk?
Lakshman, Sita, and Ram.
Lakshman,
Sita, and Ram.
correct for 10 points.
I want to know it.
Now we go back to individual. Antanika, your question for 10 points. What is the capital of Kekaya?
The capital of Kekaya is Rajagriha.
Correct for 10 points. Jessica, your question for 10 points. Before leaving for Bharadwaj Ashram, where did Ram, Lakshman and Sita spend the night? I'm sorry, I have to pass to Danica for 5 points.
On the banks of the river Ganga.
No, I'm sorry, that's not the answer either. It's on the Banyan tree. Under a banyan tree. Sanjana, your question for 10 points. Who is described as the goddess of sovereignty whose abode is the lotus?
Mother Lakshmi.
Correct for 10 points. And Priyal, your question for 10 points. What is the capital of Koshal?
Ayodhya.
Correct for 10 points. Amrit, your question for 10 points. Clinging to Dasrat's lifeless body, where does Kaushalya utter her intention to go with the king? I'm sorry, I have to pass the Vikas for 5 points.
In the funeral pyre with him.
Say again?
In the funeral pyre with him.
No, I'm sorry, that's not the question. That's not the answer that we have. It will be to Yam's abode, to the abode of Yamraja, to Yam's abode. And Vikas, your question for 10 points. What is the meaning of Ayodhya?
That which cannot be subdued by war.
Correct for 10 points. Rishabh, your question for 10 points. How did Dasrath end the pain of the young ascetic shot by his arrow?
He gently removed the arrow from the ascetic.
Correct for 10 points. Daria, your question for 10 points. Who redeemed his pledge by cutting off his flesh and giving it away?
Saidya.
Correct for 10 points. And now, students of the Palmyra Hindu School, remember the team question requires a little more answering, so you have to consult and one person gives the answer. How was the payasam to be distributed amongst King Dasrath's wives?
Kaushalya drank half, Sumitra drank half of what remained, Keikui then drank half of what remained once more, and Sumitra drank the remaining.
Correct for 10 points. And students of the Spring Village Hindu School, for 10 points, remember, same rules. You consult, one person gives answer, okay? When he married Kekai, what promise did her father secure from Dasrath?
That the son she will born will be crowned king.
Correct, for 10 points. And then we go back to individual. And Dinika, your question. Your question for 10 points. How did Kaushilya react to the news of Ram's banishment?
She fell on the ground like a pant and she suddenly got down.
Correct, for 10 points. Jessica, your question for 10 points. From which part of Rishi Jahnu's body was the Ganga let out?
His right ear.
Correct, for 10 points. Sanjana, your question for 10 points. Which kingdom hosted the wedding celebrations of Ram?
Ayodhya.
I'm sorry, that's not the answer. I have to pass over to Priyal for 5 points.
The kingdom of Kosal.
I'm sorry, it's the kingdom of Mithila. The kingdom of Mithila. Priyal, your question for 10 points. Which sage, a great devotee of Ganapati, obtained the power to digest the Rakshasas?
Sage Agastya.
Sage Agastya, correct. Amrit, your question for 10 points. Who survived the great slaughter at Panchavati, fled to Lanka and took news of the ruin of Janasthan?
Akambana.
Akambana, correct for 10 points. Vikas, your question for 10 points. With what rights did Kamawali wish to be wedded to Ram?
Gandharv rights.
Gandharv rights, correct for 10 points. And Rishabh, your question for 10 points. What sage, described as a teacher of the Shastras, attempted to persuade Ram to abandon exile and to return to Ayodhya?
Sage Vasisht.
Sorry, that's not the answer that we have on card. I have to pass over to Daria for 5 points.
Jabali.
Jabali, correct. And Daria, now your question for 10 points. What hill did Hanuman ascend to announce to Sugriv the visit of Ram and Lakshman?
Malaya Hill.
Malaya Hill, correct for 10 points. Students of the Palmyra Hindu School, now your team question. Remember to consult away from the microphone. One person gives the answer on the microphone. And students of Spring Village, you have the opportunity to answer if they don't for 5 points. After returning from Kekaya, what inauspicious omens were observed by Bharat that led him to conclude that some great misfortune had overtaken Ayodhya?
The usual crowds of people were coming in and going out, and the young men and women were sad in the garden.
I'm sorry, that's not the answer that we have on card. Spring Village for 5 points.
The usual coming and goings were not to be seen. The temples and houses were not decorated. The streets were not sprinkled with water and gaily decorated, and the peoples were not covered with sandal paste and flowers, and the people's faces were sad.
Correct, for 5 points. And now, your team question, students of the Spring Village Hindu School, as well as students of the Palmyra, you can listen as well. Taking pity on Bhagirath, Shiv let out the waters of Ganga in Bindu Saras, from where they flowed in separate streams. In which directions did the streams flow?
3 went east, 3 went west, and the 7th one followed Bhagirath wherever he went.
Correct for 10 points. And now your round of questioning with context questions. Remember to listen carefully. These are questions of who said these words to whom. And Dinika, first for 10 points. Who said these words and to whom? I welcome you as a Maharishi, my son. Pleased with your soulful tapas, I confer on you that title and sanctity it imports.
Brahmhata Vishwamit.
Brahmhata Vishwamit, correct for 10 points. And now Jessica for 10 points. Who said these words and to whom? Oh my father, you have given away your life for my sake. You are a second father to my Lord, and now you are no more, oh our devoted, brave friend.
Sita to Jatayu.
Sita to Jatayu, correct for 10 points. Sanjana for 10 points. Who said these words and to whom? You will get a number of children and will acquire undying fame. One of your wives will give birth to an only son. Through him your lineage will be continued. The other queen will bear 60,000 strong-armed sons.
Sage Brigu to King Sagar.
Sage Brigu to
King Sagar.
Correct for 10 points. Priyal, your question for 10 points. Who said these words and to whom? Send your swiftest messengers to Ayodhya to give the news to Dasrath and invite him.
Lashish to King Janak.
I'm sorry, that's not the answer that we have on card. Pass over to Sanjana.
Vishwamitra to King Janak.
Vishwamitra to King Janak, correct. And Amrit, your question for 10 points. Who said these words and to whom? You are a good prince, beloved of the people. Let not your courtesy and your consideration flag, but increase with your opportunities of doing good and earn you enduring glory.
Kaushalya to Ram.
I'm sorry, that's not the answer that we have on card. Vikas for 5 points.
King Dashrath to Ram.
King Dashrath to Ram, correct for 5 points. And now Vikas, your question for 10 points. Who said these words and to whom? What food did Ram take when he was here? Where did he sit? Where did he sleep? What did he say? And what did he do?
Bharat to Guha.
Bharat to Guha, correct for 10 points. And now Rishabh, your question for 10 points. Who said these words and to whom? When you leave Sita alone and go hunting in the forest, I shall be looking after her safety.
Jatayu to Ram.
Jatayu to Ram, correct for 10 points. And now Daria for 10 points. Who said these words and to whom? What are you talking? How did this happen? Did Indra and the divine host come down to earth and fight on Ram's side?
Ravan to Akampan.
Ravan to Akampana, correct for 10 points. And now students of the Palmyra Hindu School, your team question, as well as students of the Spring Village, remember to pay careful attention. Question will only be read once. What 3 qualities of Ram did the people admire and made them look forward to his becoming king?
Brave, lovable, and virtuous.
I'm sorry, my adjudicator and I consulted. We can't give that as the answer. For 5 points.
His virile beauty, his perfect life, and his courage.
Correct for 5 points. And now students of Spring Village Hindu School for 10 points. Remember, students of the Palmyra, you can also get it right if Spring Village does not answer. Name 2 aspects of wealth and grandeur that Ravan displayed to Sita upon entering Lanka in the hope of persuading her to yield to him.
Precious jewels and a lot of vehicles.
First, repeat please.
Precious jewels and a lot of vehicles.
Yes, correct for 10 points. And that, my dear friends, please give them a round of applause, everyone. It takes a lot of courage for them to sit here, and many, many congratulations to both schools. Our score master is here, and the Secretary General will do the good honors.
First of all, let us congratulate the teachers who have trained these children from both schools. Give a round of applause to the teachers of Palmyra Hindu School. And give another round of applause to the teachers of, this is not Durham Village, why? This is Spring Village. Huh? What you put on Durham Village here? You want to confuse me or what? This is Spring Village. Let's give Spring Village a round of applause. Now let us be clear about it. There are no losers here. Both teams are winners because they know the Ramayan more than any one of you sitting in the audience or listening on radio or television. So let us give them a round of applause. First of all, I want to invite the students of Palmyra Hindu School. Come and join me here. Our lovely students. Come on, boy. Bring them girl in here. Bring them here. Come on, line up here. Let me see. Come on at the front here, man. Right, line up here. Look at them. Beautiful children from Palmyra. Give them a round of applause. And let us invite the children from Spring Village Hindu School, not too far from here. Come Spring Village, stand up here. Give them a round of applause. Both schools are winners, but we have to read the scores and say who will walk away with the trophy. First of all, Palmyra Hindu School, 145 points. Give them a round of applause. But the Durham Village Hindu School has scored, not Durham this month, Spring Village Hindu School has scored 190 points. Because we have to have a winner and a loser, we will give them the trophy. But both schools are winners. Spring Village, I want you to go and hug up Palmyra for me. Come on for the camera. Hug them up, boy. Always one, always one, always one. Come on, hug them up, hug them up. Give these children a round of applause. Beautiful, beautiful. Now we have Republic Bank here with some special offers to these children, starters. So let's have the Republic Bank representative here, Mr. Baldat, Ram Kisud. Give each one of them. This is Palmyra here first. Which one you have there first? All right, right. These are starter accounts. So all your parents, you better put money in the account when the account started. All right. All right, the other one now. From Spring Village here. Who is Priya? All right, let us give Republic Bank a round of applause, and let us give these children a tremendous round of applause. They deserve our round of applause. All right, sit around and let's get down to the action now. Action on stage. All right, well, you did well. All right, Spring Village, well, you did well. All right, your principal will be happy.